What is an End-User License Agreement, EULA? An End-User License Agreement, EULA, is a legally binding document defining the user's rights and restrictions in using a specific software product. When a customer or business purchases a piece of software, they are not actually gaining ownership of the software at all. Instead, they are paying for the right to use the software. Ownership of these software applications remains with the software vendor. To clearly specify terms, conditions, liabilities, restrictions, obligations, and more, vendors will gate their software behind an EULA. The end user then must agree to the stipulations outlined in the EULA before they can access the application. End User License Agreement, or, more commonly, the abbreviation EULA, is the most widely used term to describe this kind of contract between the licensor of a software product and the licensee. However, there are several other terms that may be used to describe agreements that fulfill essentially the same function. These include the following: Licensing Agreement, Software License Agreement, Licensed Application and User Agreement, Terms and Conditions Agreement, Click Wrap License, Browse Wrap License, Shrink Wrap License. It's worth recognizing that, while many of these terms are used synonymously, some may have a slightly different focus or legal function. In official documentation, using End-User License Agreement or EULA is often the most appropriate approach. Unlike many physical products, where ownership changes hands once the transaction is finalized, purchasing software constitutes an ongoing relationship between the vendor and the user. This relationship requires setting boundaries. EULAs establish what the user can and cannot do with the software, set the terms of the agreement, clarify liability, provide infringement information, specify disclaimers, and address how and when the right to use the application may be terminated. What are EULA benefits for software vendors? An effective EULA acts as a shield, protecting the rights of the software vendor. An EULA is a vital layer of defense against copyright infringement, software reverse engineering, and misuse of the application. It also allows vendors to limit their own liability and protect their reputation if the user abuses the application or uses it for improper or illegal purposes. Additionally, the EULA gives vendors the opportunity to disclaim warranties, specifying that the application is provided on an as-is or as-available basis, ensuring that they are not held accountable in the case that certain circumstances prevent the software from fully meeting requirements. Finally, an EULA contract also protects the vendor's right to revoke or suspend licenses for any reason and at any time, with or without warning. What are EULA benefits for customers? While most EULAs are designed to support the rights of software vendors more fully, they also provide several benefits to the end users themselves. By clearly outlining the end user's rights and restrictions, the EULA establishes expectations, defines software and maintenance terms, and describes how the software should be used for optimal effectiveness. An end-user license agreement is a legal document. As such, it needs to follow certain established formats and protocols to be legally enforceable. Many organizations will choose to hire an EULA lawyer to help create the license agreement or to at least review the completed agreement before publication. Identify the business and the user. Because the EULA is a contract, a vital function is to identify the relevant parties. Clearly establish who the licensor and licensee both are, so that they may be legally held responsible for fulfilling their terms. Disclose the copyright. A major aspect of software usage is the type of copyright or intellectual property license that applies to it. An open source application, for example, would allow the user to perform certain actions that would be prohibited under closed source software. Disclosing the copyright tells the end user what to expect. Establish and define the rules of behavior. Perhaps the most important job of the EULA is to set ground rules for users to follow. Clearly state how the software should be used and what restrictions will apply. Outline all relevant conditions and other details. The EULA must also include details on relevant conditions of software usage, such as the conditions that may result in the license being terminated or revoked. Clearly state any disclaimers and limitations of liability. Finally, the EULA must address any disclaimers and limitations of liability that may be necessary to further protect the vendor. ServiceNow ITM solutions help customers keep track of important software data, including EULAs that provide essential details such as maintenance and support information, how the software can be used, who or what devices can use the software, and what constitutes a user violation. This enables users to effectively manage the software lifecycle and strategically optimize the software estate to reduce risk and maintain compliance. Additionally, ServiceNow takes things further with the License Workbench. License Workbench helps ensure full compliance, keeping detailed records of the number of available license rights and comparing that to the number of rights being consumed. This not only allows organizations to identify important trends, but also provides them with essential oversight for identifying and acting on any publishers who are not in full compliance.